Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where we talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of In the Dark. A great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, there's that whole situation with Sterling. Obviously, we get to see her. Obviously, she shows up to work early, counting the drugs, making sure everything's right, counting the money. As we kind of find out, that's what she does. And it's like she's the insider that let Nia know that Felix was skimmy, because we also see that she's also I guess she's got secretly a camera hooked up somewhere so that she's constantly recording or whatever, or. So that was interesting. And what I also love is she goes in the fridge and she finds Felix's sandwiches specific and ends up stealing. Well, it was and he ends up talking about later on it's a burrito. But I was like, that's such a dick move. You're the reason why he got jumped in that restaurant, but also now you're stealing his food. That's such a dick move. And then her and Sam and everything. And Sam is like, yo, why would you you had to spend 3 nights with Jess? She's like, yeah, she was in a bad place and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, obviously Sam's getting a little jealous and stuff like that. But you have Starling be like, no, it's not even like that. She's like, I'm gonna go to bed. But then she's looking at a text from Jess and she's super happy. You're like, oh, so you fake something long enough, it becomes real. So she actually likes Jess. The sad thing is, it's it started off as a lie, but now it's a thing of I actually kind of like her, which is kind of interesting because it's almost an interesting parallel to Murphy and Max. I mean, granted, it was different circumstances, but it's similar. He's kind of connected to he was connected to Nia's organization. Sterling's connected in the same regard. But so she sneaks over to Jess's place, and then Sam wakes up alone, and she's kind of upset and just like, dude, that's not good. It's the last person you want to be cheating on is Sam. Sam's not going to appreciate that. That's not going to be good for Jess. But at the same time, Murphy's talking to Felix about, Josh, the file he has on Nia. And his question is well, how much does he have on Nia? It's well, we don't know. She's going to use an excuse to go see him and, about, stuff about with his eyesight and everything. And oh, I got this app. I can help you out, more stuff with, on your site and everything. Let me come over. So she's gonna try and take a picture of Nia's file to find out what Josh knows. But at the same time, she gets a text from Sam saying oh, I need you to make a drop, and it's damn it, okay. There's also that thing where Felix comes, he's like, wait, isn't that my jacket? And Ben's like, no. He's like, yeah, I know, because I paid it. He's like, nah, it's mine. And he's like, all right, so how much is it? He's like, if you want to, I can sell it to you for $200. I'm like, why $200 specific? I'm like, that's why I was kind of that's why I kept thinking the entire time. I'm stuff later on in the episode kind of leans into it, but it's he's got to be he must be kind of hooked an addict when it comes to drugs or something, because he's like, yeah, he kept asking for cash. It seemed like he wanted to get paid super soon. So I think he's getting that itch of got to get high soon. And because later on, Jess is looking for pain meds, but she can't find any. So I'm I think he and then he was even going oh yeah, oh, you going to the bathroom to go? I was like, yeah, have a good time with that. And he was acting fidgety. I'm I could tell something was up, but it was I already had a feeling that's what it was. But especially when last episode at the beginning where Felix was I can't believe Ben did this to us. She's and Murphy's I can't. I was he took some of the drugs. I was either he's going to do something with them or he's going to try to sell them. But it seems more so than anything, he's probably going to try and get high. He doesn't know that they have those drugs there. He stole the Guiding Hope's actual drugs, not Nia's drugs, because if he stole her drugs, that'd be a whole complicated mess. Because also, we know that Sterling's keeping an eye on the place, so they find out that might actually be the circumstances that lead to that, because they're oh no, we know he stole the drugs because we got this place bugged. So regardless, the fact of the matter is, and then it's okay, I'm Sam's asking for this, and I'm that's so weird. I was huh, because I felt it hadn't been that long since they made a drop, but I was oh, I didn't think that's what I was thinking at the time. But I was well, maybe that's just their drop time anyway. Jess goes to the car. Sam's in the back with the gun. I'm yo, that jealousy's going far. So basically, she goes to meet with Nia, and she's yeah, I don't trust Jess. She could, go to the cops and stuff like that. But Nia's looking at everything that's happening. She's literally nothing in this says that Jess and them are untrustworthy. The fact of the matter is, it's Sam's pick somewhere else. Pick different people to kind of do this. And then Nia's nah, that pale dude and Murphy, they're actually doing really good work. But the fact is, because they end up finding out that Murphy and Felix didn't tell Jess, because she was like, yeah, no. And she's like, yeah, about your money. She's like, because she's so nervous. She's like, Nia, yeah, hi, I'm Jess. She's like, I know about your money and everything. It's like, no, I'm talking about my drugs. And she's like, wait, what? It's like, wait, so they didn't tell you about it? It's like, dude, this is the wildest way for Jess to find out about this. That was nuts. And then it's just kind of like, well, if they don't trust her enough to tell her this, maybe we shouldn't trust it either. So it's kind of like, take care of that. And Sam's looking almost reluctant about it. And then Nia's like, what? You said you wanted it. This is what you wanted, right? And I think it's because for Sam wanted her just removed from the equation, because it was about getting her away from Sterling. Because even she was like, oh, don't be mad just because she's sleeping with your girlfriend's sleeping with her. Like, that isn't enough. But it's like now Sam feels bad, because it's like, it's like, I'm sure she handles plenty of stuff for Nia. Let's not forget she killed Jules last season for her, so it's not like she's above doing that, but I think it's just kind of like, she kind of feels bad, because it's like, oh, this situation was created because of my own jealousy, but also I guess it's because it's someone that your girlfriend cares about, but also it's just kind of like, she is kind of an innocent person. It's not like, if she's done something bad, if she's trying to hurt Nia, sure, but she's not. It's like her own jealousy kind of created the situation. And so at the same time, there's a whole situation where like Darnell's talking to his boy, and his boy's like, yo, so you gonna get, because he wants them to get like, the others, like Murphy and them, to turn on, Nia, but he's like, no, he's like, I can't give up their name so you can go after them. He's like, I can't let that happen, because he's like, they're actually friends, so I can't let you do that. So it's like, all right, well, let's get them on our side, working with Josiah. But he's like, no, that's not going to happen. They're too afraid of Nia to let that happen. And so Darnell's like, we'll find another way. But his boy is like, all right, no, I got your back. He's like, what are you about to do? He's like, no, I got you. I was like, oh, the moment he did, I was like, oh, this is going to turn nasty. And once again, I love how this show kind of does the Ozark thing that I really like, where it's just like shit goes wrong, but sometimes it happens in the most serendipitous way. There's a lot of damn serendipity that went down in this episode. First and foremost, there's a whole situation where like Nia's like, yes, you and Sam are going to go have a talk. And Jess is like, what does that mean? She's like, no. And at the same time, Nia gets shot. I was like, I didn't see it come. I was like, holy shit. Sam's firing back. It's like, it's Darnell's boy. It's like, wow, you took a shot at the big boss yourself. That's interesting. And obviously Jess is about to walk away, and Nia's like, help me. And I'm like, you could walk away and all your problems would be resolved to a certain extent, because if Nia didn't die and you walked away and could have helped her, for one, Sam is going to pop you. Fact of the matter is, if Nia dies, Sam's still going to track you down and kill you. So it's kind of like she didn't really have much choice. Plus, Jess is not about to let someone die in front of her too. It's more about self-preservation. I'm sure like Jess kind of in that immediate moment kind of ran through her head about like what the outcomes could be. But she ends up helping Nia, can't take her to the hospital, end up taking her back to Guiding Hope, kind of patching her up. Using some of the drugs as kind of painkillers, because obviously, like I said, we know Ben ended up snatching all of them. I also love there's that whole situation of like Felix was trying to lie, because obviously he wanted to make the drop, because Murphy was like, you do it, and he had to tell Chelsea like, oh, I'm working. She shows up and he's like, hey, she's like, oh, this is weird. I thought it was supposed to be like adorable or cute, like the fact is I showed up. He's like, no, it's okay. She's like, are you about to close? He's like, yeah, I was about to text you, so yeah. He's like, I can make you lasagna. She's like, oh, you just want to cook for me, just use it as an excuse so we could just skip that and go have sex. He's like, well, that's not going to happen. Yes, that's going to happen, but he's like, no, but seriously, I am going to cook for you. Let me just run to the store real quickly and get some ingredients. She's like, no, I'll come with you. He's like, no, you don't have to. She's like, I literally do, because I Ubered here. So it's like, man, once again, just going wrong on all kilters. I thought it was really interesting though, like when Jess did help, the whole situation with Nia. It's like, all right, I'm afraid to move her because like Jess is like, I feel like I'm not strong enough to hold her up and everything. So do you have anyone else? I was like, oh my god. Are you about to bring Sterling into? Are we about to reveal this? And Darnell comes in like, right. Well, obviously Nia's got plenty of other people too, but you probably want to pick someone more trustworthy. But I was like, oh, that's so interesting, because it's like, why would you break Sterling's cover if you don't have to? I figured this circle, it didn't even cross my mind to think you called Darnell. That was interesting. But Darnell's like, hey, you saved Nia's life, and it's just like, but for Jess, she's like, I didn't have much of a choice why I was there, so it's like, Darnell kind of understanding, because it's like, he lost, obviously Jules because of this whole Nia situation. So, he feels bad for Jess and everything. Like, after everything, like him and Murphy and her, like the whole Tyson situation, he even got pissed at his boy. He's like, why'd you do that? You went after Nia yourself. Well, the fact is, she's not dead. And his boy is like, oh, shit. Yeah, so it's like, you're kind of screwed. He's like, you know what? It's on me because I made this promise to Josiah that I'd help take down Nia and stuff like that, but it didn't work out. He's like, so don't worry, because your life is on the line because of that. He's like, I'm going to go tell Josiah it was 100% on me, that it's my fault things kind of played out this way. So he's going to take the fall for it. I was like, oh, that's not going to be good. Because I think in the end, I think Josiah would shoot Darnell, but I'm sure he'd shoot his friend first and either make Darnell watch and be like, yeah, okay, you got another chance, or he shoot Darnell, then shoot it. Like, I think either way, like, I'm more so than anything, I think they still both end up dead just because Josiah would be like, making a point to like everyone in his organization that he's not, soft on anyone. Like, oh, like you make a promise to me and you break that promise, I promise it'd be your life and I have to keep my promise, or I look like someone who doesn't keep their word. That's why I feel like it would be like that. We'll talk about obviously the circumstances later, but at the same time, there's everything with Dean and Gene. Gene ended up finding Felix's pad where he had all that stuff. It's like, oh, I knew he was writing a code and stuff like that. I'm not a Star Trek person. So I didn't realize that he wrote it in Klingon. Am I confusing? That's Star Trek, right? I was about to say, no, it's not Battlestar Galactica. It's Star Trek, right? I'm probably mixing up my... I feel so stupid right now. Once again, I'm not the biggest Star Trek person, but yeah, it's Star Trek, right? I'm sorry. But the fact of the matter is, Gene knows how to read it a little bit, so he's the one deciphering it. He ends up figuring it out. Him and Dean together, they figure out, like, oh, and they connect it to the truck that Nia is making, like, that the food truck that ends up going to the prison and everything, and that ties into Max, who's giving the drugs away like he's supposed to, but then one of the dudes shakes him down for the drug, which is like, he ended up giving the rest of his supply to that dude, but there were other people that were supposed to have that, so Max is kind of in another shitty position, even though he's still recovering from being stabbed because of the hit out on him by Nia. So now it's a situation of you were double screwed, because like now he can't get more drugs, because it turns out Dean and Gene end up hitting the place and end up arresting her because like the dog ended up sniffing residue off the back of her truck. Luckily, because Chelsea wanted to have sex with Felix, it put him in a position where he didn't drop off the drugs. He was like, oh, it's so close. And Chelsea's like, I know. It's just like the powers that be just don't want me to be happy. It's like, luckily, because everything, like I said, it's just like, it seemed like everything was going wrong for Felix in that regard when Chelsea went tag alone. But in actuality, she saved him, because it's like, if he was caught there, because in that moment, he would have been dropping it off and he would have gotten caught by Dean and Gene. And it's like, man, it's just like funny how that whole situation worked out like that. Because obviously for Chelsea, it's just like, oh my God, of course I'd run into Dean. Like, of course this is my life. Like, obviously they didn't get seen, but the dog was walking closer to him. But luckily it's like, oh, like I said, it's just like everything went wrong, yet things going wrong somehow managed to slightly go right. It's so interesting. At the same time, Murphy's, doing her thing with Josh, trying to take pictures of the file. He was like, oh, I can't let you do that. But at the same time, like, Chloe's at a party she's not supposed to be at. Her friend kind of left her to her own devices and stuff like that. It's like, oh, like, we're freshmen. Should we really be going to this party? Her friend member's like, nah, it's cool, it's fine. And obviously we see her there drinking a little bit. She's like, she was trying to find the bathroom, but she landed in the closet. So she calls on one person she can count on, Murphy. So Murphy shows up with Josh. They get her, take her home. Oh boy, Dean finds out about it when he goes home and everything, because he went home to check on Chloe. And boy, oh boy, it's like, oh, hey, you were at a party, sends her inside, and then he's blowing up at Murphy. He's like, I told you to stay away from her. You're a bad influence on her. It's like, you suck. She wasn't a bad influence. She wasn't a bad influence at all when you and her you had that one blow up when you blamed her for, like, her being at the mall when she was. And obviously, he ended up forgiving her, but it's a different. Once again, being around Murphy, it reminds him of what he did. And so, because Murphy holds like this trigger over him in the sense of like, for when you use me to get the information, but also, once again, it's the thing of like, you could potentially destroy my relationship with my daughter. So it's just kind of like the reason why she was at that party, you piece of crap, is because she's rebelling against you. For one, she's a teenager, but also it's because you are pushing so hard against her because you're so pissed about the Murphy thing. So it's just like a domino effect of like, you created these circumstances, Murphy didn't, you know? And so he's blowing up at her saying like, oh, telling her to sober up. It's like, well, for one, which we know she wasn't drinking, like, but that was just, he had to go for the low blow. And it's like, oh yeah, you murderer. And I'm like, you're just saying that shit in front of like Josh, you're not going. And then like he goes in, and then Chloe's sitting on the stairs, and he's like, Chloe, and she just like walks away. Now the thing is, she probably overheard that entire conversation, but she probably doesn't know the context of it. So obviously he's going to probably try and skew things a bit, but more so than anything, she's probably hurt because it's like, how dare you be mad at Murphy treating her like that? I'm the one that messed up. Murphy actually did me the favor, because even she was like, Murphy was like, you talking about I'm bad for her? I actually went to save her. She was at the party. Like, the fact is, she would have never actually called you. So the fact is, it kind of worked out that she, but I'm sure she's going to blame herself because it's like, oh, Murphy got chewed out. She's like, yeah, she thought like he'd be mad and stuff like that for him to say the shit he said to Murphy. Like, Chloe's not going to appreciate it because like Murphy's her friend and everything, and obviously her dad hasn't given a good reason why he's so anti-Murphy. Yeah, you broke up and everything, sure, but so it's just, I'm curious to see how that ends up playing out. That's going to be really interesting to see how that, because like I said, I don't think she's going to take much, but she probably is going to wonder like, why did Murphy call you a murderer? Hell, even Josh was like, oh yeah. She's like, yeah, ignore that whole murder part. He's like, no, I get it, because police brutality. I was like, oh my God, that's so interesting. He took it that way as like like police who abuse their power ended up like straight up murdering people. He thought it was kind of meant to be a stance like that, not realizing she meant it as like he literally, not just like a police brutality situation, but more so he himself is actually a murderer, because not just being a cop, he just as a person murdered my best friend, so, but it was like, so I just thought that was interesting. Obviously, they go back to Murphy's place, and I love literally twice throughout the episode, people are like, okay, just don't sleep with him. It's just like, I'm not going to, and then Jess says it, like, don't sleep with him, and she's walking away with her hands up, like, why is everyone saying it's like, your past kind of suggests that that's something you would do, and so it's just like, oh, come in here, they're getting high, she's pumping him for information, it's like, oh, about the whole Nia thing. The thing is, he's been trying to go after Nia for the past 2 years, but no success. She's kind of like his white whale. He's like, I want to be able to do it before I lose my sight. And Murphy touches his shoulder and everything. He's like, she's like, oh my God, no, it wasn't like that. He's like, I'm sorry. I just assumed just because, last time. She's like, right, I was in a bad place. I'm not trying to sleep with you now. She ends up talking about the fact is because it's like, he's like, yeah, because it's like, you don't want to be in that situation of like, oh, you're blind, so hooking up with someone that's blind too. Because she ends up talking about like when she started losing her sight, or when she did, her mom made her like, she was trying to push her and this other dude who was blind, who had been blind since he was born, together. And for Murphy, it was so awkward and weird because her mom was just kind of pushing. It's like, oh, you're blind, so you should be with this other blind person, but she ended up saying she ended up sneaking out the window and ended up going to Jess's place. So it was a nice moment between them. So it's like, despite the circumstances, it's still kind of nice that they are close. But it's one of those things of like, oh, it's just kind of sad because the relationship is kind of built on deception. Much like, it's more like a friendship, but there's potentially budding romance to a certain extent. But obviously, it's very reminiscent of the situation with Jess and Sterling. Which, speaking of Sterling, Sam was like, yeah, I need you to end things with Jess. Because it's like, once again, it's like, because of this whole thing, Sam like realizes like, oh, I'm not like on the top of my game. Like, I literally let my jealousy create the circumstances granted, if it weren't for those circumstances, Nia might be dead right now. But it's still kind of a thing of like, you never know, right? So just because it like I said, the domino effects in this show is crazy. Like, that's why it reminds me so much of Ozark in that especially in that regard. Which, that's interesting. Like, obviously, asking her to break up with Jess, which is kind of the worst time, because Jess she's acting like everything's okay, but it's actually kind of like she ends up bringing it up to Murphy, like, yeah, I know about you and Felix holding her drugs because she told me herself because she was going to kill me because you guys didn't trust me enough to tell. She figured I wasn't trustworthy enough, so she tried to kill me. And Murphy's like, what? No, like we did that because we were trying to protect you, not because we didn't trust you. But obviously, it's like Jess like was put in such a traumatic position because they lied to her. Like it's the thing you do. You lie to protect the people you care about, and obviously she's just kind of in the shower. Like I think it's still like she's just trying to be strong. She goes to her room and you can hear her breaking down in her room, and Murphy just stays outside her door. She's like, I'm so sorry. And because of this, like Darnell's about to tell Josiah the truth, but Murphy calls Darnell up and it's like, all right, I'm gonna help you take down Nia because she was so close to killing her best friend. And it's so sad because like Nia was just talking about, nah, we're gonna keep Murphy and Felix on the payroll. They good. But now, like, you doing what you doing, I guess she didn't really think about that too much. You know, it's like you killing Jess, but, like, it's just a thing of, like, no one knew that Sam took Jess, but it still would have been a thing of, like, who's the number one suspect in that situation? It would, you know, be her. But you killing her best friend, I mean, I guess she kind of lets it slide because, like, oh, Darnell, I mean, well, you know, like, because Darnell is like, oh, no, I killed Jules. And it's like, yeah, welcomed him back into the fold, put him in a position to kill Max, but he couldn't, and you found out about that. So it's complicated, you know, like, you expect people to kind of be loyal to you when you put them in like hurt the people that they are close to, they're tight knit with, you know. So it's just interesting circumstances. I'm curious to see, will Sterling actually do it, or will it be on the super on the DL that you're hiding it from Sam, because it's kind of like the worst time to break up with her, considering the fact. And if it's not a matter of if, when Jess finds out about Sterling, it's going to break her on so many levels, because it's like, oh, you break up with her, then eventually you'll probably still stay with her, but then eventually she'll find out the truth, and it's just all kinds of nasty, because it's not only Felix and Murphy that are lying to you, which the argument could be, well, which is worse? The fact is that Sterling's just using you, because the whole point was to get closer to all of them. But she's like, oh, by being close to Jess, I'm being close to Murphy and Felix. It's like, you know, you spend to our knowledge, you spend most of your time with Jess. But who knows? Maybe in between moments that we don't get to see, you are getting closer and closer to Felix and Murphy. It seems like I said, the person you seem the most interested in getting close to is Jess. But regardless. But like I said, the dominoes falling. Like now Murphy is on Darnell's side, so it's like, all right, he's got his end. You know, he just saved not only his skin, but also this is also a chance to get back. He has an opportunity now to you know, take down Nia, kind of for everybody's sake, for Max's sake, for Murphy, Jess, and Felix's sake, but more so than anything, his own sake, for getting revenge against her. But it also means protecting himself from Josiah, which who knows like how that whole situation is going to play out. It's just like you're exchanging the devil you know for the devil you don't, you know. So it's that type of situation. So we'll see kind of how that works out for him and Trey. I always kept calling him his boy because I kept forgetting Trey's name. I was like, I knew it was something with the T, but I couldn't remember it till just now. My memory is terrible. I was literally thinking the entire time, remember his name. I totally didn't until now. I know, I recognize that actor too. I have to look into it. Like the actor who plays Trey, I've seen him and stuff before. I just can't remember what. I didn't talk about it either, but there's like the cold opening, which is like 6 days earlier, which is like, okay, we went from 7 to 6. It's like, oh, stop teasing me with this. But the fact of the matter is, Josh was calling Murphy while it's like, it's the middle of the night. Why is he calling you? It's like, maybe by then your relationship has deepened, or maybe he needs her help because maybe at that time his eyesight was getting worse, or like, we don't really know the full context at that point. But it's just kind of like I said, just little by little, because it's those little cold openings only last like what, maybe like 10 seconds. So we're just getting a tiny bit at a time each episode, you know. So now I'm sitting here also thinking about it too. It's going to be interesting because Murphy's go all about taking down Nia. But if anything, Nia is 100% more down for that crew, because it's like she already trusted Murphy and Felix to handle things. But now she's like, oh, Jess is down too. Jess saved my life. I owe her, so we're good. So at the same time, she'll probably be pulling Jess in closer, maybe potentially. While at the same time, Murphy's trying to take her down. So it's going to be a whole complicated mess of a situation, especially if Jess finds out about Sterling. She might want to try and use her good graces with Nia to get, you know, Sterling from under her, you know, her organization, but then there's also the Sam situation, all kinds of complicated stuff. Then obviously because, the food truck lady got arrested, that means like now Nia's got to find another way to get her drugs into the prison and everything, hopefully before Max gets his ass beat, because like, oh, where's my share of it? Well, you gave it to that guy, so it's like getting shaken down again. Like, you probably want to avoid that like the plague, especially, or probably trying to beat dude up to get your stuff back. It's gonna be interesting to see how Max ends up playing that whole situation. It's gonna be interesting to see how all of this and everyone ends up playing everything out going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.